Ready? Chapter 46. The Berserkers. Leah could see her army's headquarters take shape in front of her as she ran. She had to find one of the generals and she had to do it fast. As she came closer, everything still looked normal. People were out and about chatting away as usual. At least she had beaten the yellow wolves to the punch, but with how much she didn't know. "Yrsa!" she yelled as she saw the big woman appear on the ground site. The brigadier general looked at the sprinting second lieutenant with a surprise. "Leah, where have you been?" "Ulfstad! The yellow wolves are marching towards us. They will be here soon. War is coming!" Leah wheezed as she made a full stop in front of the brigadier general. Yrsa looked to the north. "This is not how I pictured my family reunion to be like, but I'll take it." Nila and Naila stood watching the two giant axes hanging on the wall. "You kept them all these years," Nila said to his sister, sounding rather touched. "I hung them up waiting for you." 17 years on a wall. It's about time we used them again," he said as they both walked over and grabbed the axes. A knock on the door was heard. "We have to clear out now. They could be here any minute," Banki yelled at them from outside the door. "We're coming," Ayla yelled back. "I like the braids," Nila commented as he looked at her. "Thank you. In war it's important to look pretty for your enemies, especially when you're about to cut their heads off," she said with a smile. The two blood armies were marching north. They had to meet up with the wolf army before any traps had been set for them. They wanted to take them on head on. The sooner, the better. They had to take out the ruler before the reinforcement got there, or they would be in big trouble. All those weapons, how were they supposed to win against an army with that kind of arsenal? "So you're into older women, huh?" Yua glanced at Keon. "Her chronological age might be close to 200 years, but we both know her biological age is about the same as mine," he answered the lieutenant general. "Haha, imagine if the two of you stick together for a long time. As you age, she doesn't. Eventually people are going to think you're a dirty old man dating someone way too young for you." Yua chuckled at the thought. "Oh man, that's not funny. Hadn't thought about that before," Keon said, dispirited. "Hey, who knows? Maybe she can make you immortal as well," Yua said encouragingly to him. "I don't think she can do that," Keon answered and sighed. "I wouldn't put it past her. Who knows how far her powers really stretch?" "What's that noise?" Edda turned to Glima and Aino sitting beside her. "Sounds like a lot of people talking, doesn't it?" the captain said back to her. She nodded at him, just as Keon and Yua came walking over to them. All 5 of them peeked out from behind the hill where they had been sitting. Soldiers, thousands of yellow wolves setting up a camp for the night. They all quickly withdrew their heads behind the hill. "What are they doing this far north? And why are all of them Ulfhedna?" Glima whispered, confused, to the others. Keon looked at him. "Ulfhedna?" "Elite soldiers of the wolf army. The yellow wolf is their symbol. But it's only the Ulfhedna who wear a yellow coat. The rest wear blue. Yrsa was one of them before she fled. They used to be a lot smaller in numbers than this, though. I guess that means the wolf army has grown a lot as well," Glima whispered back to him. "Well, whatever they want, we can't stay here. We'll be discovered in no time," Edda said and looked at Yua. He nodded at her. "Yeah, we need to move while they're still preoccupied." The 5 of them started to quietly tiptoe away from behind the hill. There was a forest close by. If they could only get there, they would be able to make a run for it. Keon looked at Aino. "You got this, don't you?" She gave him a crooked smile. "Doubting my abilities, are you?" The 4 of them moved as silent as they could. Glima looked back at the camp, a bit confounded. Yua was not the least bit stealthy, yet none of the yellow wolves even glanced his way. As soon as they'd reached the forest, they set off running. They were heading back to the headquarters. but made a full halt as soon as they felt the ground move. The 3 officers looked at each other. Had their armies already been warned about the yellow wolves? The group peeked out and saw the blood armies coming. They were marching side by side, weapons at the ready. Well, seems like they are all prepared, so I'll just hang back here while, Grimace said, but was interrupted by Juha. Don't try to sneak yourself out of this one. You're a captain. Your company's waiting out there for you to lead them. I don't want to fight, Grimace said, crossing his arms. I don't care. You're under my command and I'm ordering you to fight, Juha answered him. The captain looked up at his lieutenant general in dismay, uttering some ill-chosen words towards him. Are you coming? Juha turned to Aino. She shook her head. This is your war, not mine. I'm not your field marshal. It's your choice. He gave her a smile as he turned around and grabbed Grima by the cloak, dragging him with him as they joined up with their army. You should be, Edda said, lingering an extra moment beside Aino and Keon, before she walked out of the forest as well. The wolf army could feel the blood armies approach their camp before they could even see them. Ulf knew what was coming. There was no time to set up an ambush. They were going head to head with them right now. Get in formation! They are coming! He yelled to his Ulfhedna. The yellow wolves immediately dropped everything they were doing. They grabbed their weapons and shield and lined up in front of their ruler in perfect alignment. This was not how Ulf had planned for all of this to go down. Most of the blood forces were supposed to have been taken down before the reinforcement even got here. Now they instead had to hold the blood armies back until the reinforcements arrived. The sun was setting. This would be a night battle with only the light from the moon to guide them. They stood facing each other. 10,000 yellow wolves against 6,000 red bears. The wolf shirts against the bear shirts. The Ulfhedna against the berserkers. They had once been one. Ulfhedna were berserkers who wore wolf heads. Now they were separated, just as their areas were. Sweden and Scania were once one. Now they were two. The yellow and blue flag against the yellow and red. The blood armies as usual were lined up according to their rank. In the first row the generals stood, then the rest of the officers behind them. Colonels first, second lieutenants last. After that the big majority of the army, the soldiers, stood. The youngest and least experienced were at the very back, with the most experienced in the front. Grima stood nervous behind his commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Freya. Unlike everyone else around him, he didn't have any weapons, just his shield. He refused to wear anything which could be used to kill anyone. He looked over at the ruler. He was far away, but he could still distinguish him. What is that the ruler is wearing on his head? He asked Freya. A wolf head, it seems. I guess he thinks it's going to scare us, Freya answered and shrugged. He just looks stupid. Imagine it. You're just living your life, then a random dude comes and chops off your head just to use it for a hat, Grima commented and shook his head. A little further up the line stood Colonel Reidun. In one hand she held her seax, in the other she held the one that had belonged to her late sister. She looked down at it. The blade was beautifully embellished, done by Ritva herself. Reidun closed her eyes as she saw the image of her smiling sister flash before her. A sister she had loved more than anyone in this world. The colonel opened her eyes again and looked at the yellow wolves on the other side of the battlefield. The yellow wolves she had once been a part of. She clenched her hands around the handles of the 2 seaxes. This is for you, Ritva. This revenge is for you. Tyr walked over to Arvid. Did you only bring knives to the battle? He asked him, as he didn't see the brigadier general carry any other weapons. My knives are all I need. You think they will be enough, though? You can't fit that many on your body. They're not only on my body. Arvid opened his cloak, revealing a large number of extra knives. He had sewn a pocket on every millimeter of fabric available. Damn, that's some sewing skill. Should teach my cousin. She sucks at it, Teal commented. Oh, don't worry. That's not the only thing I plan on doing with your cousin, Abid said and grinned. What did you just say? You heard me. Abid stared challengingly at him. You're not going to do anything with my cousin. Who do you think you are? Teal stared back at him. I am the knife master, Abid declared, grinning even bigger. Teal rolled his eyes at him. Your ego is just as big as hers. Do you think I can reach the wolves from here? Yuva asked Tuva. Not sure. Try it, he answered. Yuva threw one of his axes, hitting one of the soldiers in the front line. Straight to the head, he said, pleased with himself. I gotta try too. Tuva threw one of his spears. It pierced right through one of the yellow wolves. The soldier's body lounged backwards as the spear staked 3 more soldiers in a row behind him. Iosa looked at them both. Boys, I don't mean to be a buzzkill, but why are you throwing away your weapons? Don't you need them? Nah, I still have 1 axe left. Plus, I'm good with my hands, Yuva said and smiled. Yeah, I still have 1 spear left, Tuva answered. She wrinkled her forehead. Okay then. Tuva bit his lip. He needed that spear back. It was his favorite one. Why did he have to throw it away? Hey, Banke! Yulin yelled at the Major General. He looked over at her. She pointed to her bow before she drew 3 arrows at once. As she had put them on her bow, she fired them off in one go. Both generals looked on as the arrows took down 3 of the wolves on the other side. Banke thumbed her up and drew 3 arrows himself. He aimed them at the soldiers and let them fly through the air. 2 of them hit their target. The 3rd missed. He nodded at himself. Not bad for a first try. He smiled to himself. With this, they were ahead of Edda. After all, she only used a mere 2 arrows at once. He felt very pleased. The archers of the wolf army strapped their bows. On the ruler's command, they released their arrows all at once, letting them rain down on the blood armies. Shields up! The twins yelled as they both covered themselves with their shields as well. Neela turned to his sister. This won't do much for them. Our shields can take this without a problem. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're just trying to stall us until the reinforcements get here. In their mind, if they continuously shoot arrows at us, then we can't move, she answered. How silly. Like some arrows are going to stop us. Nilla snorted at the notion. Edda came walking over to the twins, hunched down with her shield covering her. Neela, I have an idea how we can end this fast, but I need your strength to do it, she said, looking at him. Oh? The general looked back at her, curious. I can't get high enough myself if I just jump, but if I get enough leeway and you throw me, I should be at the perfect height to take out the ruler with an arrow, she answered. He nodded approvingly at her. Move as far back as you can while the arrows are still raining down on us. Then, as soon as it stops, make a run for it. Step on my shield and I'll give you all the extra power you need. As Edda moved back, she asked everyone to step aside. She needed a start point far back to be able to pull this off. She took a deep breath and waited. The archer's arrows had to run out at one point. There it was, a break. She threw her shield to the side and started sprinting. She took a step into the air, placing it on Neela's shield. Together with the force coming from the general's body, she jumped and she was off. She flew through the air, higher and further than she had expected. She could see him clearly now. She strapped her arrow by her bow and took aim right for his heart. Bullseye, she said quietly to herself as she released the arrow from her grip.